in Jerusalem to being in Babylon to being with the Medes and the Persians. God was extremely blessed him and gave him dreams and interpretations of dreams. The scholars and the astrologers, the magicians, the magi that he worked around knew him because he saved their lives in many cases. He also gave important dreams that come exactly true. He foretold how all the different kingdoms would come, from Babylon to Mede and Persia, down clear into Rome, clear on down to our days. And the Magi there in Persia had studied all this because Daniel would have been known as one of their most wise men and have the interpretation of dreams and different things like this. The Magi are not left alone without dreams themselves. We'll see that a little bit in their story today as God leads them to find the baby Jesus. This is who they are. They were people who had studied the scriptures that they had, the knowledge that they had, and they had come. They were bringing treasures, a lot of most expensive treasures that were around. They were probably not coming alone. They probably had a whole band of soldiers with them to guard them. Some people say they may have had as many as 12 wise men coming with them if you start looking at the different things. But anyhow, it was just another part of the story that I wanted to introduce before we got on with our sermon on the Magi.
Today, we gather here to ask the question that this song brought up. If the wise men came to our town, to Wrangell today, what would they find? Would they think we had it figured out? Would they find baby Jesus in our hearts? Join us as we follow the wise men on their journey and discover how their journey can become our own. We're going to read our first scripture now, which is Matthew 2, 1-2.
Matthew 2, 1 and 2. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him."
We're going to go to our first hymn together, which is 137, We Three Kings. So the wise men's journey wasn't easy. They traveled through wilderness, through uncertainty, following a star that they couldn't fully explain. The hymn, In the Bleak Midwinter, tells us the truth. This wasn't a comfortable, glittering Christmas. Earth stood hard as iron, water like stone. It was bleak. How many of us on similar journeys right now? Maybe you're in the bleak midwinter of financial hardship. Maybe it's relational brokenness. Maybe you're exhausted from pretending you have it all together when inside you're falling apart. The wise men teach us something crucial. Seeking Jesus often means journeying through bleakness first. There's no shortcut around the wilderness. But friends, the star still shines, even when the earth stood hard as iron. Even in the darkness, the star still shines.
Even in the wilderness, God guides us.
Even in the bleakness, hope is coming.
Even when we're weary, the journey is worth it.
Now we'll read scripture number 2. This is Matthew 2, 9-11. And if we'll get our mic.
When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they came unto the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
And now we have the three wise men.
We expected a place. We expected armies and advisors in royal courts.
Instead, we found a child, a humble home, a young mother.
We traveled so far, we were men of learning, of astronomy, of philosophy, and we found God wrapped in human flesh.
What could we do but worship?
We brought our gold.
Our frankincense.
Our myrrh.
But really, we gave our hearts.
What can we give him, poor as I am? That question the hymn asked. The wise men gave what they had. They gave extravagant. They gave reverently. But most important, they gave attentively. They didn't just drop off the gifts and leave. They lingered. They let the reality of God with us seep into their souls. If the wise men came to our town today, would they find the same reverence? Would they find us giving God our full attention? Maybe they would find Jesus in unexpected places, in the kindness of a stranger in our northern chimes, the hands that shoveled a neighbor's driveway without being asked, the meal delivered to somebody struggling, forgiveness offered when bitterness would be easier, dignity extended to some society has cast aside. Where have you seen Jesus lately in unexpected places?
Our next song is not too far from the other one. It's 136. Good Christians now rejoice. And now we're ready for our next scripture reading, which is from Matthew 2:12.
Then being divinely warned in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed for their own country another way.
And so God intervened. The wise men were going to retrace their steps, go back through Jerusalem, report to Herod as promised, and it would have been the logical route, the familiar route, the expected route. But God said, no, go home another way. Why? Because encountering Jesus changes everything. You can't meet the Prince of Peace and then collaborate with a murderous king. You can't worship at the feet of love incarnate and then return to patterns of violence, deceit, and self-preservation. We cannot meet Jesus and stay the same.
We cannot worship him and walk the old path.
We cannot bow before the king and serve false masters.
We cannot see God's love and choose hate.
We must go home by another route.
We must let Jesus enroute our life.
This is where it gets personal for each of us. What toxic relationship needs a new route? What patterns of spending, of consuming, of numbing ourselves needs to be left behind? What prejudices, what pride, what self-righteousness must we refuse to carry back with us? The wise men had to choose comfort or obedience, the familiar path or the new way. They chose transformation. What will we choose? And now our wise men.
We went home by another route, and nothing was ever the same.
I looked at my possessions differently after laying gold at the feet of a child.
I treated the vulnerable differently after seeing God himself make himself vulnerable.
We told the story.
over and over.
Of the night that everything changed.
The journey was long, but we would do it all again.
We don't know the details of what happened to the wise men after that night, but we know this: they went home differently than they came. If the wise men came to our town, I hope they would find baby Jesus in our heart, not just as the old sentinel feelings or the theological concept, but a living presence that has enrouted our entire life. I hope they would see Jesus in the kindness to strangers. I hope they would see Jesus in how we prioritize the poor, welcome the outsider, forgive the unforgivable, and love the unlovable. I hope they would see that we too have chosen a new route home.
And now let's sing O Come All Ye Faithful 132.
The hymn asks, what can I give him, poor as I am? The answer comes softly, give my heart. That's what the wise men ultimately gave. Not just gold, frankincense, and myrrh, but their very selves. Their plans, their needs to control the journey. As we journey towards Christmas and beyond, let's commit to being like the wise men. Let's seek Jesus, even though the bleak midwinter. Let's worship when we find him, even if he's not where we expected. Let's give him what we have, poor as we are, and let's be willing to go home by another route. This Christmas, don't celebrate Jesus. Let him en-route your life. Go home differently than you came. Closing song.
We're going to be singing the song you've been hearing us allude to, In the Bleak Midwinter. And if you'd like to stand, 126, In the Bleak Midwinter in your hymn.